Snapshot 25W02A brought us Data Pack version 62 and Resource Pack version 47 with things like new options for set block, fill and clone, updates to text components, data-driven pig variants, and more. My name is Sliced Lime and this is a showcase of the changes. Let's start with commands. The behavior of set block and fill has changed when it comes to block entity data. If data is not specified and the existing block has data, that data will be preserved. If you do specify data, the data is now changed to that data. And to clear the data, you can specify empty data. The success or failure of the command now also depends on the block entity data. If either the block state or the block entity data changed as a result of the command, it is now counted as a success. The set block, fill, clone, and place template commands also have a new option called strict. If you specify this option, the placement of blocks is done entirely without any block or shape updates. This makes it possible to set impossible states for many blocks that could previously not be set. The fill command now also has a more flexible version of replace, which can be used together with other options. With these changes, a bug which caused successful fill air destroy commands to show an error message is now also fixed. Granting all advancements to the player no longer starts an ear-shattering cavalcade of fanfares that goes on for minutes. Running the OP command with a selector returning multiple results now gets the correct line printed in the log file. Teleporting a player's mount no longer causes desynchronization of their rotation, and teleporting far away while riding an entity no longer ends up in a state where the player cannot properly interact with the world. Structure blocks also have a new option for strict placement, which does just the same thing as it does for the commands. Let's talk about text components. The format of text components have changed everywhere in the game. In commands like tellraw, title, and scoreboard, they are now specified as SNBT instead of JSON. One effect of this is that there is no longer any distinction between integers and booleans, which means that if you need to pass a boolean to a translation, that needs to be quoted as a string. When stored in data, text components are no longer stored as JSON inside strings and are instead stored as actual data. The format is the same as before, but not inside a string. When using the NBT type and having the interpret flag set to true, the text component will now be parsed directly from the given NBT instead of converted to a string and interpreted as JSON. There are also changes to hover events. Hover event is now written as snake case instead of camel case, and the legacy value field is no longer supported. For show text actions, the contents field is now called text. For the show item and show entity actions, the contents field has been inlined. In the show item case, when the contents was previously an item ID, that is now written in the ID field instead. And for show entity actions, the ID field is now called UUID, and the type field is now called ID. Click events have also changed, with click event also written in snake case rather than camel case. For run and suggest command actions, the command is now set in a command field rather than value. For run command, the command no longer needs a prefixed slash, but will now always be interpreted as a command regardless. The open URL action target URL is now specified as URL instead of value. And for change page actions, the page number is now specified as page rather than value, and now requires a positive integer rather than a number specified as a string. Let's move on to data news. The drop chances for items in hand and armor slots are now stored together in an object called drop chances, and instead of this being an array, this is now keyed by slot name. Drop chances that match the default of 0.085 are no longer stored in the entity data. A change to the owner field of tamed mobs. That is no longer restricted to being a player, but can instead be any living entity type. And the bug has been fixed to tamed wolves, where removing the owner field would previously make the wolf sit down, but still walk around. Area effect clouds now have a new field called potion duration scale. If not specified, the default is 1, and the duration of the potion effect that is inflicted is multiplied by this number. Any area effect cloud created by lingering potions will have this value set to 0.25. That neatly leads us into changes to item components, where there's now also a new potion duration scale component, which is a non-negative float value. When that component is present on any item that has potion contents, the potion duration is scaled by this factor. This also applies to the custom effects in the potion contents. There's another new component, which is the weapon component. When present on an item, that means the item used statistic for the item increases from punching something with the item. Each attack with the weapon also takes durability from the item according to the damage per attack field, which is damage to the item, not damage from the attack. Attack damage is an attribute modifier that already existed. There's also a can disable blocking field, that is a boolean field which indicates whether a successful attack against a shielding enemy disables the shield. The tool component now also has a new field, can destroy blocks in creative, which defaults to true but can be set to false to make tools not destroy blocks in creative mode. In recipe news, crafting transmute recipes have been changed and the result field now also supports specifying a count and a components patch to apply to the result. That patch is applied to the final transmuted item. For simple items, the item ID can still be used as before. There's a new registry for pig variants in this version. Each file has a texture field which specifies a texture ID. The model field specifies which model to use, one of normal and cold. And the biome field is a biome, list of biomes or biome tag, specifying which biomes this variant spawns in. This is an optional field, and if it's not present, the variant will only spawn if the current biome does not have any matching variant. In tag news, there are new biome tags for spawns cold variant farm animals and spawns warm variant farm animals. A new item tag, book cloning target, for any items that can be used with a written book to duplicate it. And 2 new block tags, replaceable by mushrooms for blocks that can be replaced by mushroom blocks when a big mushroom grows. And sword instantly mines, for blocks that get instantly mined by swords. In particle news, there's a new particle type called tinted leaves. They have no parameters and are tinted according to whatever color is in tint index 0 of the block 1 block space above the space in which the particle spawns. If that block is not tinted, the particle ends up gray. And finally, in resource pack news, in addition to all the new textures and such, this pack version also changes the UV mapping of pigs, so any pig textures will need to be updated. And that's all for these pack versions. Thank you for watching. My name is Sliced Lime, and I'll see you next time.